Hi, I'm Alex from the Zscaler Customer Success Engineering team. In this series of short videos, we'll take a look at the baseline recommendations for the inspection of TLS encrypted web traffic, or SSL inspection as it's known inside the Zscaler admin UI. This is part 1, why you should inspect your traffic. Let's start by looking at some statistics for the period between October 2023 and September 2024. The first one of these actually comes from Google, and this is, for Google, the observed average encryption rate of web traffic across the world for this period was 99%, meaning 99% of all traffic was HTTPS and only 1% was HTTP. This is an important number to keep in mind when we look at the next few stats, which come from the Zscaler security research team, Threat Labs. The first one of these is this stat. 87.2% of all threats were delivered via encrypted channels over this period. This isn't that surprising. If the vast majority of traffic is encrypted, then it stands to reason that the majority of threats would be coming via encrypted channels. The next stat, however, is more shocking. 86.5% of those 87.2% of threats delivered via encrypted channels were what's classified as malware. This is a serious threat category for advanced threats like Trojans, ransomware, keyloggers, and browser hijackers, none of which you particularly want to have kicking around your network. Next, to put things into context, over the same period, Zscaler blocked nearly 1 billion phishing threats. However, this only amounted to 2.3% of all threats delivered via encrypted channels, just to give you an idea of how many more malware threats were observed in the same period. Finally, it's important to note that over 30% of all the malware observed during this period had been blocked by Zscaler was delivered via trusted cloud applications. These are applications like Google Drive, OneDrive, AWS, Azure, or Dropbox, which IT administrators tend to think are inherently safe, even though they present a risk. Now that you understand the risks involved in non-inspecting traffic, let's talk about how Zscaler's security engines work. This simplified model shows Zscaler's layered approach to threat detection and prevention. When a user tries to access a resource on the internet via Zscaler, a series of checks are performed. The first one of these is access control. Is the user allowed to access the destination URL or URL category that they're trying to access? If you've configured a policy that will block these, then the user will be blocked, otherwise they will continue onwards. Secondly, is the destination a known bad destination? Is there a reputation-based block in place for this destination? If yes, then we'll block it because we know it's a malicious website that hosts malware or a phishing website or something else. Assuming the website is not known bad, then we'll move on to looking at the actual contents of the transaction. We'll do a deep packet inspection. We'll look at what's on the page, the kind of technologies that are involved, where the different sub-elements of the page live on the internet, etc., etc. And this allows us to compute a risk-based score. This score can then be used to trigger specific policies. For example, you might do a browser isolation on a session for a website with a high risk, or outright block the page. Assuming the page isn't blocked, then we move on to the file-specific controls. These are broken down into two types: file type controls, which are effectively access control policy for file types, i.e., is my user allowed to download executable files? And then behavioral analysis or sandboxing, whereby we send the file to the sandbox to determine whether or not it's safe. Once we've gone through all of these checks, you are delivering to the user what is reasonably safe content. Here's the kicker, though. Everything here that's shaded in this coppery green-orange color requires SSL inspection to function. For traffic that is encrypted but not inspected, the only things that we can do are access control, where we decide to block the destination based on the host name or the URL category if you've configured a policy to do so, and known bad destinations, where we can block destinations that we already know are malicious. Any of these advanced controls, such as antivirus or advanced threat prevention scans, the risk-based scoring, file type controls, cloud sandbox, data loss prevention, and all other advanced policies, cannot be performed if the traffic is encrypted but not inspected. To show this information in another way, here's a matrix of the Zscaler Internet Access capabilities, showing the different areas: access control, DLP and compliance, CASB and threat protection, where ZIA secures your traffic, your users, and your data. And here, shaded in blue, are the parts of ZIA that require SSL inspection to be able to function. As you can see, without SSL inspection, the only thing you can do is access control and the aforementioned known bad destination reputation-based blocking. That's it for this video. Join me in part 2 when we talk about what you should inspect.